Author Kavery Nambisan and I have been talking about her sixth book, The Story That Must Not Be Told. I interviewed her many years ago for her other books. She is a doctor based in Lonavala where she practices surgery. She was here for her book launch, very well attended, and I loved reading the book. Earlier in the show we talked about the plot, we talked about the characters, how much time she spends writing. She calls herself a happy writer, so I thought I'd ask her a little bit more about that. Tell us how happy you are when you're writing as opposed to how happy you are when you're a doctor.
My husband always envies me this particular thing. He says that when I come back from work, a full day's work, I look very happy because I am going to, finish with tea or whatever, and then I go straight away and I want to sit at the computer, I want to write. And for him, the act of writing is like a job,
We must say that Kavery's husband is the poet and journalist Vijay Nambisan. Yeah.
So he envies me this particular trait, but I think it's because I have two different skills, you can call them, which are so drastically different from each other. Surgery needs a different type of discipline with your hands and your brains, and it's all a trained sort of mind working within a team, while in writing we're on our own and it's a world of imagination and creation. The two complement each other for me because I like both of them.
And now you also have a learning center for the children of the migrant laborers.
Yes.
So you have your hands more than full. How
yes.
are you a superwoman?
No, I'm not. I don't do anything else but these few things that I manage. No, I'm not. But I do enjoy the act of writing, especially fiction. If I'm writing non-fiction, that for me is difficult.
But you are going to write a non-fiction piece,
I am, and that's taking me a long time. I'm writing a book on health, which is called Why Should Health Be a Luxury Item? I'm questioning the point, the fact that it's all now, we take it for granted that for health we have to pay a lot of money. And if you have money, you are safe. And if you don't have money, you're not. Yeah. So I'm just questioning that why and how did this happen that the medical practice has completely become commercialized.
Can't you do that in the form of fiction, because you'd have many more readers, because this is something you talked about in your launch, that it's difficult for you to write a non-fiction piece.
Yes.
And I think even if you want to convey a message, it's best conveyed through fiction.
Yes, I would like doing a fiction on health, the problems of health, but having written The Hills of Hungary, which is sort of a semi-autobiographical depiction of a surgeon's life, where I do pose these questions in some ways. I have used it. I think to go back to it again in the same way, same form, fiction would be a little repetitive, I would say. And the reason I have agreed to do this book is that I want to look at it in a very different way, the overview of healthcare all over the world, because this is not only in India. The pattern of health is changing so alarmingly. Healthcare is changing alarmingly all over the world. You know that Obama's fate sort of almost rises or falls according to the healthcare insurance.
I'd like to talk about this a little later actually, because I have some questions regarding medicine for you. I think we'll stick to the book now. We'll come back to the book. This book is about the rich and poor divide, if I have to say it in a nutshell. It's also about migrant laborers who live in a slum, right? So coming to the topic of migrant laborers, you call yourself a migrant laborer because you traveled and you've lived in so many places, which is a good thing for the imagination. Don't you also long for a sense of rootedness, or is habitat a thing of the mind, as a poet Arundhati Subramaniam said recently? It's about feeling comfortable under your own skin, doesn't matter where you are. Is that what you believe?
No, I do like rootedness. I do like to be in one place, but you don't always do the things you long, that conflicting feelings that you develop, and the sense of adventure is also there in me. I'm a person who takes a lot of risks. I find when I look back on my life, I do take risks, and I love that feeling of doing something different every time. Like when I left my last job, which was a very secure, very successful job with the Tatas, I left it with a lot of thought, and I had discussed it with them. I told them why I'm leaving, not because I didn't like the job or working for Tatas. I loved it, and I was right at the top. And they were happy to have me. But the reason was I did want to know what it was like to work on my own in a smaller setup, to have more time for each patient, to see really more the ordinary person, and not to, honestly, obviously it doesn't come with much money, what I'm doing now, but to also take that particular financial risk, because I don't want to live my whole life in with that feeling of comfort, that there is a salary coming in and I'm all right. I like those risks.
You talked about Coorg, which is your hometown. Now the Scent of Pepper, one of your novels, is now it's been revised and it's going into it's going to be on the stalls again. The Coorgs, they thought you had not depicted your Uru nicely enough. Did you feel let down?
I didn't feel, well, I was disappointed at first by the reaction of people when they did attack me, a few of them. But to be honest, there has been more of admiration than this criticism. Right now it has overcome, that whole phase has sort of gone down, and now every time I go to Coorg, people are just telling me how much they love the Scent of Pepper.
Right.
So it has changed completely. Yes.
Let's talk about how you managed to juggle medicine and writing. When we come back after a short break, I'm in conversation with author Kavery Nambisan.